I'd do a quick little video on trying to capture how this car sounds. I've been getting a couple comments and questions, asking me my impression of the exhaust system and the muffler. It's, because it's kind of crazy design, and I think people are a little curious as to how it sounds, and I certainly was curious as well during all the lengthy time it took to build this thing. But I guess I'd start off with saying that I absolutely love the way it sounds. It is really kind of what I was hoping for. Now, you just saw in those video clips that it has a different sound. It's not a kind of a traditional side pipe Cobra kind of note. I guess to maybe categorize it, I would say it's definitely more European, and but maybe a subcategory of angry European, because it still sounds very angry. It has that, at idle, it's got that low kind of cammy rumble to it. As soon as you get on it, it smoothens out. The X pipes definitely, I think, greatly influence the way this thing sounds. You're blending right and left notes. But as you really get into it, it definitely has a European kind of sound, like kind of hard to put my finger on it, maybe an old school Ferrari or Italian in some ways. It's a Ford Racing 302 crate motor. It sounds like it's whining a lot higher than it does, so it's a neat sound. I really like it. So with that said, and by the way, still no exhaust smell. I'm as pleased and surprised as anybody, but it seems to be puffing out to the right and left far enough where it's not giving me any smell inside. So I count myself lucky. I did put some thought into it. I kind of was hoping this would be the outcome, and it is. So just a final note there on the exhaust. Okay, so while I've got you here, I'll do a quick 1,000-mile review. By the way, just clicked 1,000 miles on it. So far, so good. No real major issues. All of these, this whole 1,000 miles basically has been these little 30 to 50-mile excursions. I've been staying close to home, kind of anticipating some issues somewhere. Not maybe a wheel falling off, but maybe something just shy of that. And so far, everything's been great. There are a couple little things to report. One, I'm dealing with a little bit of a funky idle. When the engine's hot and I pull up to a stop sign, the idle surges. It kind of it drops low, engine catches it, goes up high, drops low, engine catches it. The EFI catches it. And then 5 to 6 seconds later, it idles perfectly smooth. It happens just about every time, but only when it's really warm out, medium, 60s and 70s. It doesn't do that at all. It only happens in 85 to 90 degree weather. It's never stalled, but it's getting close. So I've done everything I know to do on it. I went into this Holley Sniper programming, turned off the AC control, which I guess affects idle, and that dramatically helped. It reduced the surging, but it's still there. So if anybody has any suggestions, I'm open for it. The only other problem I have, and I'm not even sure if it's a real problem, but I'm definitely hearing noise in my differential. I have an independent rear suspension, brand new from Factory 5, their IRS package, and there is slack between the drive shaft and the CV shafts. CV shafts, the part that goes from the pumpkin to the wheels, CV shafts, we'll call it that. I've gotten under there, I verified it. I know for a fact that it's happening inside the differential. I can turn the input coming out of the drive shaft from the transmission. I have about a 1/4 inch play between the input and when it actually affects the output on the CV drive shaft. So there is a 1/4 inch play there, and that sound is exactly the sound I'm hearing, and it's definitely on the inside of the differential. It's not the connection of the drive shaft to the differential. I verified all those bolts are tight and no slippage there. So I think I'm going to go to a heavier weight oil. I read someplace that might help. But any of you out there who have a 2015 or newer IRS out of a Mustang, and have experienced the same problem. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear it. So far, nothing seems to be fitting my exact case, but I know I can't be the only one. So that being said, let's see. What else? Oh, I wished I had put on locking header bolts right from the get-go. I have been struggling with my header bolts kind of backing out. And again, I have a Ford Racing 302. I guess it's fairly common with those running through the heat cycles, and the header bolts will not work the way out and fall out, but they just need to be retorqued. I struggled with this for the first 500 miles, and at about 500 miles or so, I replaced them with Stage 8 locking header bolts, and that completely cured the problem. But it's a sucky job, you know, replacing header bolts when you just put them in. So I would suggest, if you know, just go ahead and put them in right from the beginning. Toss out the bolts that came with your header kit and put in a locking header bolt. Let's see what else. Brakes. The brakes are absolutely amazing in this car. However, I finally got around to doing a real honest-to-God brake test on pavement, and found that the rear were locking up first. The brake pedal effort on this is very, very good. It's snappy, it's responsive. The car stops on a dime, but when I really got into it, I realized the rear were locking up just a little bit ahead. I had already biased the balance bar pretty far forward to the forward brakes, so I was a little concerned about that. I bled the brakes last night, bled them again, and yes, there was an air bubble on the front master cylinder. So once that, you know, I saw it come out, you know, I purged it, and now I just took it for a little test drive, and sure enough, all four wheels lock up at about the same point. Front maybe a little earlier, which I think is how it's supposed to be. In any event, this thing feels like your fillings are going to fall out when you're jamming on the brakes. It really stops hard, so that's good to report. What else? I made a couple notes here. I don't think I really have anything else to talk about. I guess the only other thing I'd say is the car continues to impress me. The more I learn it, the more I enjoy it. It is just an absolute pleasure to drive in every way. It's so responsive. I know I said this in my last video, but turning, accelerating, stopping is all just a thought. Everything is this kind of really fun digital feel to it. It's the most visceral car I've ever driven, and my wife and I take it out. We head out for dinner or for lunch or just to grab ice cream, and we just have an absolute blast in it. So I am looking forward to taking some longer trips. I think my next goal is to take it up into the White Mountains and do a couple of drives up there. We have some kind of iconic drives up through our White Mountains in New Hampshire. I have enough confidence now at 1,000 miles where I can take it for a little bit further. I have been doing my nuts and bolts testing checks on it religiously every 100 miles or so. A little OCD about it. I have not found any problems. The only thing that had loosened up, like I said, were the header bolts and the bolts on the cooling lines. I have relatively high quality T-clamps on all of my radiator lines. Every one of them had loosened after the first couple of 100 miles. So I retightened them, have checked them again, and have had no problems there. They have stayed tight. But everything else in this car has stayed tight. All the suspension is stayed right within torque settings, the original torque settings. Nothing is loosened up anywhere. The door handles, I'll take that back. The door handles loosened up a little bit. They were rattling. I had forgotten to Loctite the door handles. So the door latches, I should say. And since I've Loctited them and tightened them back, they've been perfectly good. So I guess that's it. I guess I'll wind this thing up. Hopefully stay tuned for some more video of driving. I'll say I'm having difficulty getting any quality video while I'm driving. I got to do something different with my microphone. All I'm hearing is air noise, and believe me, the car has this amazing sound from the inside. And you know, those video clips I just showed you really don't do it justice. It's a head turner when you're pulling up to, you know, driving up along the beach traffic, and people are all turning and looking at seeing what car's making this sound. So I'm bummed that the video clips don't do it justice. But in any event, stay tuned for some more fun, hopefully some good fun mountain kind of driving videos. And as I come up with any other issues and things that I wished I'd done during the build that I'm finding out now, I will absolutely pass them along. Thanks for watching.